Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I'm honored to have Mr. Marcus Trufant with me. Marcus is a phenomenal football player, and he's also one of the most loyal people I think that you'll ever meet, and you're going to hear that throughout his story today. And so I'm super excited to highlight his pivotal moments. So Marcus, thanks so much for being on today.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate that intro, man. Loyalty. I like that. Thanks, my man. I appreciate it.
You betcha. So with your story, let's kick it off at a young age. I think you said, hey, it's about fifth grade, and you get the opportunity to put the football helmet on for the first time and get to play some football. So talk a little bit about what got you into football and what it was like in the early years for Marcus.
Yeah, well, a young Marcus Trufant, I just wanted to be outside, right? I wanted to be running. I wanted to be jumping. I just wanted to be able to do stuff. I was an active kid. One younger brother in the house at the time, and all we did was play, fight, play again, and fix stuff before mom and dad got home. That was just the way of life in our household, man. So I took that energy and brought that to school, and my friends I had at the time, they were playing at the local Boys and Girls Club, and I wasn't on the team yet. I lived on the other side of town, but my mom worked on the other side of town, so we crossed paths that way, and that's where my babysitter was. So I did that. Went to McCarver Elementary, met my buddies. I'm doing my thing on the playground, and one day they were like, "Man, we could probably use you on our squad. Why don't you come over to the Boys and Girls Club, man, and join the team?" And I was like, okay, cool. And that was in fifth grade.
Yeah.
That's when I put on my first helmet. And the rest was history, man. I loved it, but I was a very shy kid, very soft-spoken. But you put me on the field and I would just hit a switch, right? Yeah. Be very excited. I didn't want to talk a lot. I had a speech impediment, so I was just shy, man. It's really kind of kid that always stood in the back, right?
Yeah.
But my coach recognized that, and she made me the starting quarterback because that forced you to talk and it forced you to speak and be a leader and all that kind of stuff. So that really helped, man. And like I said before, the rest is history.
So just kind of highlighting that, I think there's so many different ways that we can gain confidence. And, sometimes we may not excel at this or this, and that almost takes away from our confidence. But if we can find that one thing that maybe we do excel at, or we are above average at, that can really bring confidence to the table for us. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, fifth grade, that's a pretty formidable, age range for a young man to start finding out, a little bit about yourself. So talk about finding this sport that, brought confidence to you.
Right. And I think really what it was, especially at a young age, you sometimes don't know your potential, right? Yeah. And it takes an adult, or it takes a coach, or it takes a parent to really see that in you that you don't really even know that you have. So I think that's the kind of situation it was for me. My coach, she saw that I had the talent, that I could do things on the field that a lot of the other guys couldn't do, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, let's take this a step further and let's force him to be in a position to where he has to come out and show his leadership skills, right? Yeah. So I believe that that's a big part of it. And not only for children, I think that happens for adults as well. It could be your boss. It could be your mentor. Okay, you really don't have confidence in this space, but somebody that's looking from the outside in is like, okay, I see something there. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So as you're growing, you're developing, you go to Tacoma Wilson High, and talk a little bit about, that jump from grade school football to high school football. That's, a lot of age years different, people that are 17, 18 years old, and you're maybe, 13, 14, there's a big age gap there. So talk a little bit about the transition for you into high school and kind of the high school career.
Well, yeah, the transition to high school. So I went to the Boys and Girls Club, was on one side of the town. Yeah. That was on what we call the Hilltop in Tacoma. Shout out to the Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. And then I jumped ship and I came over to Wilson High School, that is now renamed Dolores Silas High School. Okay. But I was still a small guy. So there was guys that I had played with in the youth circuit And some of those same guys were at the high school. And a lot of them didn't think that I would be able to transition my skill from young sports over to high school because I was so small, right? I was still quick and fast, but they thought I was going to get beat up. I was going to get pounded out there on the field. But I was never a quitter, and I was never afraid of contact. I was never afraid to step out there and put my best foot forward. And all I knew that I was out there to play ball, and I loved playing ball. Never really thought of the league or anything like that, but I just wanted to run and jump and have fun, and just like I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
So freshman year at Wilson, freshmen couldn't play varsity or JV. You had to play on the freshman team.
Yeah.
And our freshman team went undefeated. Broke my leg or broke my ankle mid-season or something like that. Yeah. One of my buddies stepped in and became the tailback. But yeah, I had a lot of yards. I did my thing. I was balling, but then it snapped my ankle. But they did save me a spot on the basketball team after the season. And I was out there limping around. Probably shouldn't have been playing, but I did play after the football season. So yeah, that's how high school started. A broke leg and an undefeated season.
So as you're, kind of recovering and working your way back, was that something where you just the love of the sport allowed you to excel through that? Or was that something that was kind of an emotional setback for you? Like, dang it, I mean, I was having this great season. Now I've got this hurdle, obstacle that I have to overcome.
Right. At that point, the injury piece or the missing time piece, it really didn't register for me, right? It's different, of course, when you get to college or you get to the NFL, okay, time is going to be missed. I got this much time to get back and all this kind of stuff. I got to hurry up and get back. I want to get my spot back. I want to do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But as a kid in high school, I was more like, okay, I'm missing time. I can't play. And that was really the main thing. I'm away from my friends. I can't be out there with the guys. Of course, I did my little PT. I did my little rehab, but it was very minimal. Things are still growing. I was still growing. Your bones are still growing and everything. So I was good. It didn't even really register. And you got a Superman complex as a young man. Okay, yeah, I'm hurt, but I'll bounce right back, right? And I'll be right back out there. And that's how my mind state was at that point.
Oh, that's good. So as we roll into sophomore year then, what does that look like for you heading into sophomore year, knowing, hey, I do have the ability to compete at the varsity level now?
Right. At this point now, a sophomore year, I seen and I felt that I had the juice. I had the sauce, right? I could out there, it could go out there and I could do my things. I could do a lot of things on the field that a lot of other people couldn't do. But I was still young and there's older guys above me and stuff like that. So you get into this competition thing, right? And you navigate through that. These guys are my friends. I know they're older than me. They kind of been here before, but I'm here to play too. And it was not like that I was looking to take anybody's spot. I was just always putting my best foot forward. So that was a learning, and not so much a learning curve, but just like an eye opener, right? That there is competition out here. I know it's all fun and games. We all play on the same team, but everybody wants to be that top dog. And there's only one spot, right? So, hey.
Absolutely. So as you're progressing through high school, is there a certain couple game stretch or a certain comment where you start believing, all right, there's an opportunity for me at the college level, after high school is going to be said and done?
I did think about it a little bit. A lot of people don't know this, but I wasn't highly recruited for college. Pac-10 at the time, the only school that offered me a scholarship was Washington State. So go Cougs.
Yes, sir.
But to be honest, man, I wasn't, for a kid, at least for me, and at that time, there wasn't the social media presence that allows the kids to kind of think forward, right? And kind of see their future. I was kind of just in the moment, right? Okay, I'm here, I'm playing ball in high school. And of course, I would like to keep playing, but I don't really know any better. I haven't really talked to many colleges until you get to your senior year. junior year, you start getting a few letters. But like I said, I didn't have a ton of mail that was coming to the house for to play college football. So I kind of just played it by ear. I really didn't have a plan. I did okay in school, and my parents pushed me in school, but that's just the way it was. It just so happened that Washington State, they really saw something, and I just made the most of the opportunity. And that's what I try to tell kids nowadays. I know the thing is now, and I'm not knocking anybody that does it, but if it doesn't work here, I'm going to transfer here and do this and do that. Back in the day, I felt like it was more of a thing that you get out here and you do it, and you got to show and prove regardless of what the situation is, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what my energy was, and that's where I was. Okay, no, I'm not getting a ton of mail like maybe some other guys in the state that I may have thought that I was better than, but
yeah.
But man, it worked out, and so I went out to Pullman, and I just made the best of it, man. I showed up, and I was ready to go day one.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. You know, you made the comment, hey, there were certain guys that I knew were getting offers that I felt like I was legitimately better than. You know, was there any certain people in your corner that, you know, helped to continue to elevate your confidence and your skill set that, you know, hey, even though they might be getting better offers, you are equally as good or maybe better? Or where did that confidence come from for you?
I think it's first of all, my parents, they instilled in me and my two younger brothers that we could pretty much do anything that we put our mind to. And once you start something, and you're not going to quit, right?
Yeah.
And just being from Tacoma and always kind of feeling like the little brother to the big dogs up north, the Seattle kids, right?
Yeah.
Kind of were always in that shadow, right? So I think I really embraced that. I took this underdog view on life, and that people looked over me, right? So I wanted to show and prove. I wanted to prove them wrong, and I've always had that chip on my shoulder. I still do, right? Yeah. And it was something that's always been there since I was a little kid. So I think it comes from the city of Tacoma and definitely from my parents.
Absolutely. So as you head into Washington State, it's almost like the tale of two teams from the time you get there until you leave. So, you know, we walk in, and I think first year you guys, I mean, go like 3-9 or something along those lines.
Something like that.
We'll just say under 500.
Yeah.
Under 500. So, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, going from being, you know, top dog on your team and probably in the area in high school to now entering into college. And once again, you've got that age gap. You know, we'll just say, hey, there's guys that are maybe 23, 24. And then, you know, you're coming in as an 18, 19-year-old, you got to compete. So just talk a little bit about that first year for you in competing, and then the season as a whole.
Right. Yeah. That first year was definitely an eye opener. I really enjoyed it. Just think freshman in college, the first time you get to get away from mommy and daddy and kind of spread your wings a little bit, right? So,
yes, sir.
Yes. So I really had a good time. Football was great. But the team, like you said, it wasn't the best team. And they were kind of going through this process of, I guess I would call it rebuilding.
Yeah.
They went and got some different recruits. I took a chance on a guy from Tacoma, but it was a handful of us that it came in together my year, right? And you talk about like the tale of two teams or the tale of two organizations.
Yeah.
Those handful of guys, like, we stayed and we got better and better every year. So by the time we were seniors, that 3-9 team was going to bowl games, was going to the Rose Bowl, was going to the Sun Bowl, and was setting records for the amount of games we were winning and all this kind of stuff. So that core group of guys that came in my year and a couple years after me, that's what turned the system around in Washington State. And they are still striving to get back to those good old days of that. But Washington State is a great organization. It just, like I said, it gave me a chance to show what I can do. And the defensive back coach at the time when I first got there was Craig Bray. saw something in a young guy, and maybe game 5 or 6 of that 3-9 season, asked me if I wanted to burn my red shirt. And I was like, hey, sure. So throw me in, let's go to work. So, hey.
Yeah. So I want to highlight that, you talk about the nucleus, right? Hey, there's a group of us that came together. And I think, once again, we're talking about in the landscape of football, but this could be, your business, your organization, your home, your family, right? But it takes having, a group of people that are dedicated to the mission, right? And being good leaders. So talk a little bit about, the leadership quality that one you possess, but, you and maybe a few select others really brought the team together and started moving the boat in the same direction.
Right. I think what we did really well was hold each other accountable, right? And we're all still kids. We all living the college life, man, and really just enjoying, but we always made sure we showed up for practice on time and ready to go. And we made sure we got our grades together and we weren't out there causing a bunch of trouble, right? Yep. So protecting the team, protecting ourselves, holding each other accountable, because we wanted to win games and we wanted to do great things in football, right? Yeah. So there were certain things that you had to do. And I think nobody really, there really wasn't leaders and followers. It wasn't a bunch of guys that was getting up on the table and was giving like these big, long speeches and stuff like that. It kind of just rallied around each other and we knew what we had to do. It was kind of like an unspoken thing. It was kind of crazy, right? Yeah. But you do have your quarterbacks and your coaches and stuff like that kind of give you the rah. But I'm talking about like the core in general. It was really just a thing that we're going to come out here and be different, and we're going to be gonna ball, and we're going to show everybody that didn't think that we were good enough to go to other schools and do all these big things. We're going to show everybody we can make it happen. And we play football here in Washington too. So that was always a thing as well, as far as like neighboring, that you got California and you got down south, you got Florida, and that's where the big time football is supposed to be played. And I think as a team that we all had the chip on our shoulder and we wanted to prove everybody wrong. So that's been a big thing.
Absolutely. So talk about the power of that. I mean, you mentioned a couple of times now, I think there's a lot of motivation that can come from that, right? That somebody's unbelief in you or the chip on the shoulder of, I think, I deserve maybe more and someone's not giving me the chance. That should be something that motivates you, right? And it really can be something that puts fuel in the engine for you and keeps you going. For a lot of people, though, it's a crippling factor, right? All of a sudden, because somebody doesn't believe in me, well, maybe I just can't do it then. So talk about how to use that as a motivator instead of something that really, takes you down.
Right. Well, I think I was fortunate enough to have parents, aunts and uncles, and coaches, people that believed in me from a very young age, right? Had a lot of love and support. So that made me feel like I could do anything, right? I can do anything I wanted. I could really make it happen if I want to. So when people didn't think I could do it, or I felt like people were kind of disregarding my talents, I took it personal, right? Yep. And so I think it comes from my upbringing. But I think if you don't have that, I think the way to do it is to practice, right? And self-talk. Self-talk sounds, I guess, kind of off. It sounds kind of crazy that you're talking to yourself, but you have to build yourself up. It's nobody else is going to do it. Self-talk and these thoughts, these positive thoughts that you have, it continue to do it over and over and over again, and you really start to develop, it starts to show, right? Yeah. It's just like lifting weights, or it's just like working out. If you do it on a consistent basis, you're going to start to see a little bit of guns, right? So yes, I think it goes the same for confidence, and you got to talk to yourself, and you got to practice it, and you got to get reps at it. And then when that negativity comes, or that enemy comes, that practice and those reps to kick in, and it'll be like muscle memory, and you won't even know why you're fighting against this negativity, you're fighting back, and it's because you've been practicing it for so long. So self-talk is huge.
I love it. I love it. So, like I mentioned, as you progress through the years, we get to senior year, and senior year is just a phenomenal year for any school. But like you kind of mentioned, certainly for Washington State. So, talk a little bit about that magic that's happening during that year. You know, all the hard work that the teams put together is paying off in regards to we're getting wins.
Yes, senior year, things are rolling, man. Team is starting to get some press. I believe junior year we went to the Sun Bowl, and that was the first bowl we had been to in a while. So I was balling, I was doing my thing. The rest of the defense was balling. A couple guys that were a year younger than me were balling. They all made it to the league too. So just the momentum was crazy, man, and the campus was crazy. And you know that winning cures and fixes everything. So for those who don't know about Pullman, it's not much out there, man. There's some kids, there's some wheat fields and a couple of stores, right? But having a good football season, the campus was on fire, man. I know at one point, I think the school was one of the top party schools in the area. So we did party, but we got our education and we made sure we took care of business. It's okay to be able to do both, right?
That's right.
Rolling into my senior year, man, I was starting to get a little buzz in the magazines and little stuff like that. But me being a guy who I was, I really didn't know much about it. Didn't know much about the process. So I kind of just carried on kind of like a business as usual deal, right? And I just continued to ball, man, and enjoy the sport. Didn't really think about the league a whole lot as a junior. But just like I said, man, I'm just out there trying to have a good time, man, playing football, man, enjoy being around my friends, and it was a good time.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about playing in the Rose Bowl game, right? I mean, I think that's one of the most iconic, sporting events in any sporting event, that exists. So talk a little bit about the excitement and enthusiasm going into, such a big game for you guys, for yourself, but also for the school.
Yeah, man, it was a big game for us. And I know that Washington State, they had been to a Rose Bowl maybe 5 or 6 years before that, lost to Michigan, I believe. But going to our Rose Bowl game, it was big time for us, man. As you know, you get your sweatsuits, all your little gifts, all your little goodie bags and all that kind of good stuff, man. And so it was really cool. My mom, my dad, my brothers, everybody came down. It came down to kick it with us in California. Trying to think what else. Some of my cousins and my buddies came down from Pullman, and they tore up the city a little bit. But that's what it was about, man, to be able to make it to the Rose Bowl. And you hear about the Rose Bowl all the time as a player, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to be a part of that game was very awesome. And you do the Disneyland thing, and you do the steak dinners.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a blur, right? Because it happened so fast. It's all this cool stuff that's happening. I believe we went to the Tonight Show, Jay Leno, I believe, and then you do these competitions against the other team, and you have dance battles and different stuff like that. I didn't get up there, of course, but some of my teammates got up there and popped and locked it and made it work and did all that. But I was in the back. I was too cool for that, right? But yeah, man, tons of cool things were happening around there, man. I still have my sweatsuits, still have my swag bags, but those are the type of memories that you use in times when you don't feel as good, maybe, right? Or things aren't going as well. It's like, okay, this was a good time, and I remember when. So I say all that to say, because when we got to the game, there was no good stuff going on there for the Washington State Cougars. We got beat up pretty bad by Oklahoma. Our star quarterback, Jason Gesser, was running around pretty much on one leg, and we tried to make lemonade out of lemons, and it didn't really work for us. I don't even know what the final score was, but I think we got beat by 2 or 3 touchdowns or something like that. It was a bad day for us, but the overall experience was great. Lifetime of memories, friends, and just the jokes and the laughter and all that kind of stuff. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And a lot of people can't say they've been to the Rose Bowl. So, hey.
That's exactly right, man. Not many can. So as the season comes to an end, once again, the team's excelled. You have, really set yourself up as one of the, top defensive players in the country. And so now we're heading into NFL draft. And, you get all the fun things of the combine, which no player appreciates, but you also have the ability to, see, hey, what's my future going to look like? And so going into the NFL draft, I'm sure you believed, hey, I'm going to be a pretty early pick. So just talk a little bit about that night and hearing the name called.
Well, yeah, man, the draft, we'll take it back to the combine. I'll talk about the combine, man. The combine was an experience. I was the number 2 rated corner. Terrence Newman was number 1. So I was going to go to the combine. I was going to show out. I'm going to do everything, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't run their 40. Some people don't lift and do that. But I was like, I'm going to do it all because I'm just trying to be the guy. So I ended up running my 40. It helped. I ran sub 4.3, I believe. So Terrence gets up and runs his 40 because he saw me do it. So I think he wanted to keep that number 1 spot. So it was going back to the competition thing, man. And I really didn't pay it no mind. I was always used to competition. It was good. And then just go through the entire process of the combine. And then to come back home, you kind of let your hair down a little bit, man. You get to relax because everything is out there on the plate, right? You put all your film out there. You did everything that you can do. And then you just back home, man, and you training and you staying in shape. So being the local guy, draft day, man, I had a draft party going on downtown Tacoma. My friends, family, my pastors, my teachers, everybody I've ever known pretty much is coming to this event, man. It's a local thing. It's going down, right?
Yeah.
And so I take me and my immediate family, we go down the street at a hotel just because it's too much pressure, right? I don't want to be standing there in front of everybody. So they start picking. And that year, the Minnesota Vikings skipped their pick.
Yeah.
And so teams just start picking quick, fast like that. I think it went Minnesota, went the Saints, and then it went somebody else. And then the Seahawks came up. And then there I was. I got the call from Coach Holmgren. And I had all my bags packed. I was ready to go across the country and do all this kind of stuff, do all these big time interviews. And it just so happened it worked out, though, man. I had to drive up north 45 minutes to do all the interviews and all that kind of stuff in Kirkland, Washington. But it was great, man. I had everybody there at Julian's was the location. I don't even know if they still have those, but they don't have it anymore in Tacoma. But that was the spot down there. And I got on the microphone for a couple minutes, man, and thanked everybody for coming out. And then I hit the road, man. But it was another one of those experiences that's kind of just like a blur, right? It's happened so fast. It's such a big time moment that you really don't have the time to really, that it doesn't really register.
Yeah.
That what's going on, right? That you have to think back. I have to look at these videos. I got to look at these pictures and be like, man, that was really big time. But in the moment, it's just kind of like, as you're going crazy, as your emotions are up, and you just are trying to get to the next step, right? Okay, I'm here, combine, draft, and now I'm drafted, and now I got to do interviews, and now I got to get ready to play. So crazy.
Absolutely. So, and that's exactly what you did. You were ready to play. And that's not the case for everyone, right? There are countless amount of people that get drafted. And for them, that is like the pinnacle moment, right? That is the best thing for them. And then all of a sudden they reach the NFL and it's kind of a downhill, from their story. Your story starts with coming in year one getting started. Now, that's not common, even for a high draft pick like yourself. There's still a lot of competition that's going on. So talk a little bit about coming in, game one, having the starting job, and just once again, the leadership that's coming from you, and what's perpetuating within the Seahawks organization.
Right. So what I did after I got drafted, I went into student mode, right? I'm not a big time talker, but I'm a great listener, right?
Yeah.
So I came in, I was very observant. I wanted to watch the young guy, so I wanted to watch the older guys. I wanted to listen to the coaches. I wanted to get extra coaching and do everything I could, right? Yeah. Because I'm coming in fresh and things are moving around and things are moving fast. It's just different. Yeah. And you talked about starting. So that preseason, I think the last preseason game might have been against the Colts or somebody, but the starter, Sean Springs at the time, a shout out to my guy Springs, breaks his collarbone in the preseason. So they're looking around, and I guess they're like, I put the rookie in, right? So that's kind of how things got started. I was forced again to step up to the plate. Yeah. Forced to be able to show and prove, right? And I was used to that, and that was okay, but I mean, it wasn't something that I planned for. But to be ready, to make the most of the opportunity, and man, it's what I did. So took it and ran with it, and the rest is history. I keep saying that. I guess I keep saying that. But it was a good, great experience. And I'll tell you a quick story. So in training camp, and you come in and you're supposed to be in tip-top shape, right? And they do these conditioning tests. And I talked about after the combine, and you come home and it kind of relax a little bit of the pressure is off. So I don't know if I relaxed a little too much, but the conditioning test, I failed the conditioning test as the number one draft pick of the Seattle Seahawks. So I was wondering, and the coaches were probably looking around like, all right, did we make a mistake or what? But I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was nerves or whatever. And, you're running these 110s, right? And that's end zone to end zone. So I did that, and I just really didn't make my times. I had to clap me in and all this type of stuff. So all this stuff is in my mind as I'm getting ready to play. So I'm like, okay, they probably think that I might not be ready. So I'm going to come in here, show and prove, have this underdog type of mentality. I'm going to go out here and show out, man. And that's what I try to do every game.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned this, a time or two that, hey, I'm not exactly this loud, outgoing person. But talk a little bit about leading by example. And, I think you're a prime example of that. So talk about that being a leadership style for you.
100%. The lead by example thing is what I would like somebody to do if I was being led, right? So I kind of just gravitated towards that style. It was just more comfortable for me, right? Yeah. Show up on time, give 100% effort, be first in everything if you can, and just really give it 100%. And 9 out of 10 times, that's what the guys behind me were trying to do too, right? Especially if I'm the starter or I'm supposed to be seen as this guy that can ball, and you got younger players and you got other teammates, and we all are kind of going through this thing. There is a competition there, but to set a standard that everything is going to be, that we're going to give our best in everything that we do. That's in stretch lines. Yeah. That's at lunch, just to make sure I'm eating the right stuff. That's in the weight room. That's in the playbook. To continue to know everything and have the coach only have to tell you one time and not have to repeat itself is something that stuck with me. I had a coach tell me that if I have to keep repeating myself, I can't play you. And I learned that as a young player, that you got to get in that playbook. You got to know what you're doing. And when the coach makes the corrections, take the corrections and take it to the field. So going back to these listening skills, right?
Yeah.
And being observant, it kind of like being a fly on the wall. I would take in all of this stuff and then I would try to bring it to the field, man. And I would hope that the rest of the guys would do it too, man. And most of the time that's what happened.
Absolutely. So just a couple years after your rookie year, once again, not every team gets to say this. Certainly not every player gets to say it, but one of those lifetime opportunities, and that is you guys make it to the Super Bowl in 2005. So talk a bit about that year and just the momentum and excitement going into that.
Crazy. Making it to the Super Bowl, and you talk about these landmarks of sports that you hit, right? In high school, I made it to the state championship, right? And we're going crazy. College, I go to the Rose Bowl, crazy. Then in the NFL, I get to go to the Super Bowl. I'm like, man, you couldn't write this story any better, right? So that year was just nuts, man. I think that was maybe year 3 or 4 or something. Three.
Yeah,
so
3. Yeah.
Just that whole season, man, was an underdog season. Because again, this is before social media. This is before Pete Carroll, man, and Russell Wilson and at the Legion of Boom and all the rock star stuff that comes with that, right?
You guys created that defense.
Right. Yeah, but that was us. We did that.
That's right. You laid the groundwork. Groundwork.
Right. But I say all that to say because Seattle didn't get a lot of a pub, man. So we were winning games. We were staying consistent, staying in it. And then people started getting hurt. Yeah. Starting receivers start getting hurt. I believe Hasselback might have got hurt. Or there was guys on defense, but the next man up really stepped up that year, man. It was crazy. I mean, it kept us in that season. It gave us time to where when guys came back that we didn't miss a beat, right? So that's really what that season was about. The underdog season is what I call it. And then we get into the playoffs and we just start rolling, man. And then we end up beating the Carolina Panthers here at home to go to the Super Bowl. You would have thought that game was the Super Bowl because it was crazy here, man. It was nuts. Yeah. And just to be able to do that at home, to be able to do that in front of the 12s, to be able to do that in front of my family and friends was really something special, man. I really to be able to take a lap around the stadium and give high fives to everybody in the stadium. It was really dope, man. And it's something I'll never forget. And so, the Super Bowl was really cool, was really fun leading up to the Super Bowl, right? It didn't go in our favor, man. Everybody knows that. But everything that came with that, you got the interviews and you got the press and you got all this different stuff that comes with being a Super Bowl team, even though it was snowing in Detroit, it was nasty, it was cold, but it still felt like the Super Bowl. So I was on cloud 9 to be a young player too, is be like, okay, this is what the NFL is about, man. I'm going back to the Super Bowl every year. It's going down. And that was kind of my mentality, right?
Yeah.
But definitely doesn't work like that. It's hard to get to the Super Bowl. That's why when you talk about a guy like Tom Brady that has done it as many times as he has, it's nuts, man. It's hard to even believe.
Yeah. Well, and it's so much more than just your skill or your talent, right? Because you can say, hey, I'm going to go back every time, but you need the other, 52 guys on the roster to be in the exact same mindset. You have to have guys that are willing to maybe take less pay than what they could go get somewhere else. You have to have everyone be on the next man up mentality. And once again, that's just really unique thing to find with a 53-man roster.
Right. Yeah, man. You got to make those sacrifices. Those sacrifices. And that year, things just started to line up properly. And sometimes when you got it, man. And that's how it worked for us. And Coach Holmgren, people ask me all the time, kind of like, what's the difference between Coach Holmgren and Pete? Pete is more Pete's not young, but he has a young kind of surfer kid type of feel to him, right?
Yeah.
Coach Holmgren was more of, okay, I'm the father figure and I'm in charge, but I still want to be the cool dad, right?
Yeah.
But two different styles, but they love their players, man. They really love their players, and they take them under their wing and they'll do anything for them. So that's what Coach Holmgren was really on that year. Coach Holmgren was tough at times, but you felt the love in that. So he had that tough love. And I think that's what pushed us forward that year, even though we had a hell of a team, but Coach Holmgren really did his thing.
Absolutely. Now in 07, you get a phenomenal recognition on an individual level, and that is, getting named to the all-pro team. And so just talk a little bit about that and, Pro Bowl and, getting recognized for an individual accomplishment. Obviously it takes the team to get there. But, once again, kind of holding yourself as, once again, one of the elite at your position in the game.
Right. Yeah, man. So you talk about things kind of just falling into place, right? And how I couldn't have written this out in the book, right?
Yeah.
And told a story any better. But so I make it to the Pro Bowl, my contract year, right? Yeah. So that's like, but that was right on time.
Yeah.
So go through that year, man. I redo my contract. I get another contract that works out. That's great. Pro Bowl, awesome experience. I bring about 20 to 30 people with me down there. And just to be able to see all of these guys, all these big name guys, you got T.O., you got Ray Lewis, you got Peyton Manning. You just got all these guys that are just the household names, right? And being like the guy that I was like more of a blue collarish. I'm just going to come to work and I'm going to make it happen. It wasn't so much about being on Sports Center and all that different kind of stuff, but to be able to think to myself, okay, I'm here with all these dudes, man, and I'm just as good as these guys, right? So it was a great feeling. It was a great boost for just the confidence to be able to feel like you've accomplished something and that it was recognized just not by me and my peers, but the rest of the league, right? So I thought that was really cool, man. I really enjoyed it. And just like the Super Bowl, I was like, okay, I made it here. I'm going back every year and I'm going to make it happen. But that's something that's very hard to do. So after that, man, that's when I felt like the injury bug started jumping on me a little bit and things just started to happen. And I never made it back to the Pro Bowl, but I really enjoyed that year. I mean, I played some of my best ball, man. And mentally that year, Jim Mora was the defensive back coach, and the conversations I had with him, I was able to just play free. I felt like in years past, I was really kind of doing the ABCs of playing a defensive back, right? I had to make sure I checked off this box. I did this and I did that right? But that year, just the muscle memory kicked in. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't think about it so much. I was just out there just kind of having fun, right? Yeah. And that enabled me to take some chances, man, and go out and get a ton of interceptions. I think I had 7 or 8 that year. Yeah. And, man, I was able to ball out, man. It felt good.
Absolutely. So, and you hinted at this, but, there's these pinnacle moments. And I think sometimes, people think that's the celebratory thing, but really, if you ask me, the celebration is realizing all of the small things it took to get to that accomplishment, right? I think it's so easy from a distance to say, gosh, I wish I was Marcus, I wish I was the All-Pro, I wish I was at the Super Bowl. But no one saw all of the things, all the studying you were doing, all the extra hours you were putting, all the extra reps you were getting, all the decisions you were saying no to, even though they might have been really fun, so you could stay focused on what was best for, you and the team. So talk a little bit about that, the small things really compounding into it, helping you accomplish that big kind of, mountaintop moment.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the world we live in now, especially with social media, that most people see these highlight films of people's life. They see these highlight films of sports. You watch LeBron or you watch anybody, and and they're out here doing all this crazy stuff, these highlight types of plays that's out of this world, right?
Yeah.
But there was a ton of time, energy, pain, and everything that went into it. I'm trying to let this squeaking sound go by. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's my ice maker in the back. My bad. But there we go. So I should have some good ice over there. But the little things people most of the time don't recognize, or people don't get to see that. They're more focused on the highlight film, seeing your posts on social media. Most people aren't gonna post the nasty, the dirty work and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. So I think that's been around for a long time. Even before social media, people really only see those highlights. Okay, you made it to the Super Bowl or you made it to the Pro Bowl, but there's so much dirty work that goes into it. There's so much pain, and there's actually a lot of failure that comes with the success. But you just got to learn how to use those failures, or to use those points that you don't feel like going anymore, or you don't feel like you made the right decision or you did the right thing. You use that to push you to the next level. So that's what I've always tried to do. I really internalize mistakes or failures, but I don't let it crush my dream. It gives me another gear, right? It gives me more gas. It fuels my fire. All those type of cliches. That's how I've always been. I want to be perfect. I know I can't be perfect, but I strive to be as close to that as I can be.
That's awesome. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, loyalty. Mr. Marcus plays grade school, high school, college, and all of his pro years within the state of Washington. So, talk a little bit about the decision to stay. I mean, obviously, things were going well, but there's all the other teams that you could have went to, and there might have been teams that were closer to winning a championship than what you felt like you guys were at, but you decided to stay. So just talk about the loyalty aspect for you to, the state of Washington and the people that really helped you get to where you were at.
Absolutely, man. Got a lot of love for the state of Washington. A lot of love from my hometown of Tacoma. Shout out to the 253. But yeah, man, doing everything in Washington is something that I believe that anybody in my position would love to do in their hometown. High school ball, college, pros, be able to retire at home, and still do stuff in the community and still have impact, right? Yeah. And be able to show love back to the fans and to the community that gave so much love to me as a young kid through, the Boys and Girls Club, going to high school, the coaches and all that kind of stuff, and then making it to the league, man. It's been so much love and support, and it started with my parents, of course, but the community just really embraced me. So I've always felt that that it was my duty, right, to remain loyal, to hold it down, and just be able to give back. And that's what I've always done, man, and I'm trying to continue to do that. And it's just something about Washington. It's still that underdog. Okay, yeah, you guys are up there in Washington. Yeah, you guys might have some good coffee up there. Yeah, you guys might make a few airplanes and play a little rock and roll and stuff like that. But there is sports and stuff out here. There's good, cool stuff going on out here. So I take that to heart, and that's how it's always been.
Absolutely. Now you just kind of segued perfectly into it. Giving back to the community. You've got your foundation. Talk a little bit about the work that you're doing there and some of the, unique and cool projects you've been able to help with.
Right. Yes. The Trufant Family Foundation is definitely that. My mother has been the executive director of the Trufant Family Foundation for a long time. I was drafted in 2003, and that's when we started it, my first year. And just like I said, to be able to give back to the community. And the foundation is really a family foundation. My wife's involved, my brothers are involved, some of my aunts and uncles, and just a ton of volunteers from the community. But we've been involved with every cause that you can think of. You think about breast cancer, you think about sickle cell, I think about everything, right? But as of late, we've been focusing on the youth, and we've always focused on the youth, but now we're focusing on the education piece, and we work hand in hand with the Boys and Girls Club, and just be able to give these scholarships, right? I've been giving scholarships to the high schools of Tacoma and some of our partnering cities up north in Seattle. But yeah, the youth is where my heart is, man. And to be able to give these kids experiences and opportunities that they might not have is huge, because you never know what type of exposure is going to put a kid on a path to be the next, to be the next president or to be the next Marcus Trufant, right?
Yeah.
So scholarships is one thing. I mean, in education, of course, that's one thing, but the surrounding products that come with that, the mentorship, the housing, you can't get good grades if you don't have food, right? So doing all of these different things to try to wrap your arms around a brilliant young person, there's a lot of work that goes into that. And I have a lot of partners I work with. I work with the Tacoma Urban League.
Yeah.
I'm on the Seattle Aquarium Board. I mean, I want to get more youth involved in that.
Yeah.
I'm on, I went to Washington State, but I'm on the University of Washington, Tacoma, the Milgard School of Business and sports management there. So to partner up with all these different people to do all of these different things, just to give young people the opportunity to be exposed to different things that they don't know about. And then the light bulb can go off, and then we got the next person that's changing the world. So it's really near and dear to my heart. And like I said, I felt like it was my duty to be able to give back to a community that gave so much to me.
I love it. Well, Marcus, I want to say thanks so much for, hopping on and just sharing your journey, your story, all the pivotal moments. It's cool to reflect back on. Had I started off with just saying, hey, Rose Bowl, Super Bowl attendee, all pro, Marcus Trufant with us, you'd say, oh gosh, well, I'm sure it was a pretty easy road for him. But really, the underdog mentality, the chip on the shoulder, and that constantly being a, encourager and motivator for you is just super exciting. And I know so many people are going to take away just great words. So I want to say thanks so much for being on again today, my man.
No problem, man. Thank you so much for having me.